2019 was a pretty good year for video games, as far as I can tell. Now, admittedly, while I didn't play a ton of new releases this year, as I tend to be pretty picky when it comes to new releases, I did get a chance to play most of the ones I was looking forward to. And as such, I would like to present to you my favorite games of 2019. Now keep in mind, factoring games I made as a part of videos over the last year, as well as other real-life obligations, I didn't get a chance to play or finish every new release I was looking forward to. For example, I didn't even get to start Fire Emblem Three Houses, so sadly I'll have to leave it off this list. I also never got around to buying Devil May Cry 5 either, so that's not going to be here either. If it's a game I didn't finish all the way through, I'll save them for an honorable mentions list at the end of the video. All these games aren't in any particular order, though I will save my game of the year for the very end. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's start the list. Things were looking kinda bad for the Resident Evil series for a while, weren't they? Hell, all of Capcom had it rough at the start of the decade, but then right towards the end of it, they went and had one of the greatest redemption arcs in recent memory. Hot off the heels of the excellent Resident Evil 7, Capcom took their newly established RE engine and finally got around to making that Resident Evil 2 remake they had been teasing since 2015. Using the behind-the-shoulder view that RE4 helped popularize, the Resi 2 remake breathes entirely new life into an old story. It's darker and moodier than the original, and definitely a lot creepier in my opinion. The game doesn't go full action shooter like RE4 and Beyond go. It takes a cue from RE7 and dials back the action and puts the survival aspect back into the forefront. It hits that sweet spot of having just enough bullets to barely scrape by. And of course, it's always a terrifying time when Mr. X shows up. And not to mention, the game looks amazing. I played it on PC, so I had a little bit of an edge, but I imagine all versions of the game look good all up. The RE engine's pretty demanding on PC, so I wasn't able to play it on maximum settings, let alone record it on those settings, and the game still looks really good. I've stated before in a long deleted video that this probably won't replace the original RE2, considering it's so different, but it does make for one hell of a companion piece. And if the newly announced Resident Evil 3 remake is anywhere near as good as this, then we're in for a good time. Also, the PC version has several nude mods for Claire. Just throwing that out there. So over the past 2 years, I've finally jumped on the Battle Royale bandwagon. Kinda helps that most of the more popular ones are free to start, or were added as a game mode in other games I play.
Fuck yeah, we put a Battle Royale in Fallout 76.
One of the first ones I tried was Fortnite, and having played it for a while, I gotta say, it's okay. I mean, the graphics and art style are great, and the gameplay is functional, but I find the whole crafting and building mechanics a bit unneeded in a shooting game. Hell, I would tend to forget they were even there and ended up not even using it. But Fortnite, despite how in-your-face it is on Twitch, and the merchandise I keep seeing everywhere, really is a serviceable enough game. I might come back to it and put some heavier focus on it in my spare time someday. Or, at least, that's what I would have said had I not gotten completely and utterly obsessed with Apex Legends. You know how if you play one Battle Royale game, you've pretty much played them all? Drop into a huge zone with a team of 3, scavenge and loot weapons and armor, and take out your opponents until your team is the last one standing. Yeah, that's all here too, but this was the one that really got its hooks in me in 2019. I like the skills each character has, like being able to see where your opponent has been in your location, creating escape portals, or healing your squad. And it helps that matches load pretty quickly, and it usually takes you no longer than a couple of minutes to pick a character and start a match. The quickest I've seen so far in a multiplayer shooter. And like so many other multiplayer games, it's best with friends. Now the game is published by EA, and as a result, it does come with some of the typical EA bullshit, like locking certain characters and their skills behind paywalls, But all the other microtransactions the game has are for purely cosmetic stuff and can be unlocked through loot boxes, so I found that there was some restraint here. The game is perfectly playable without them, and it really helps that the game itself is free. Hell, the PS4 version doesn't even require PS Plus. But clearly the game was a major hit for developer Respawn Entertainment, as they continuously add new modes, cosmetics, and all these other little upgrades, so I hope we see Apex Legends continue to be supported for a long time. So if you've got some buddies looking for a new addicting battle royale experience, and if PUBG still has a hacker problem, I'd recommend giving Apex Legends a try if you haven't already. You might find a new favorite here.
Mozambique, yeah.
Now, I've already done a review of this a few months back, so I'll try not to repeat myself too much here. The Castlevania games on the Game Boy Advance and DS are some of my absolute favorite games ever made. And now we have a brand new game in that same style from the producer of 5 of those 6 games now available on consoles and PC. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night from Artplay and publisher 505 Games, and like 3 other co-developers, originated as a Kickstarter project and after several delays was finally released in the summer of 2019. And as someone who loved the Koji Igarashi produced Castlevania games, I seriously can't get enough of this game. I'm not even that hard to please when it comes to Metroidvania games, and this game still exceeded my expectations with things like the crafting system, the cooking system, freaking character customization, and probably the single largest castle in any Igavania game that's come before it, all wrapped in a very pretty anime bow. I know the game has had some issues on console, especially the Switch, but a lot of patches have come out since then, and you should have a more stable experience now, should you decide to pick this one up. Which I recommend you do if you love the games Bloodstained took its inspirations from. And frankly, I hope there's a sequel. Again, I have a more detailed review of this game available, so again, I'll try not to repeat myself too much here. But the 2019 remake of MediEvil is an excellent way to do a modernized remake of a classic, while still staying true to what made the original so beloved. The presentation, which was already super charming in the original, is just enhanced to unbelievable levels on PS4. It looks like what I imagine a movie based on the game would look like. Despite some minor performance issues here and there, this is easily worth the $30 it goes for. No bones about it. Alright, now before we get to my game of the year, let's take a look at some of my honorable mentions. These are games I either didn't have time to finish or only played a tiny bit of, but still wanted to mention because I like them a whole lot. You know how Atlus likes taking their popular games, adding extra stuff to them, and then re-releasing them years later? You think Persona 5 was the first one to ever do that? Nah, they've been doing that since at least Persona 3 on the PS2. But yeah, Atlus eventually got around to doing it with their runaway hit from 2011, Catherine. They re-released the vanilla version on Steam a few months before as Catherine Classic, but then the PS4 was eventually gifted Catherine Full Body. And for the most part, it's the same exact game, with a bunch of brand new stuff added, including a third Catherine who gets their own story path you can follow. And what can I say? It's the same addictive puzzle platforming I've came to love when I first played it on the PS3, and the newly added Remix mode, which throws Tetris-shaped blocks into the equation, adds some nice replay value. All the new scenes fleshing out Vincent's relationship with his girlfriend, Catherine with a K, were really sweet and made me want to fight like hell for them when I went for that particular story path. Honestly, this description is pretty short compared to some of the others, but if you somehow missed out on the original game, definitely give this one a shot. Though I will admit, if you already have the original, I'd wait for a price drop. There's not that much new material here. Yeah, despite looking forward to the first mainline Pokemon game for console, I didn't get all the time in the world to really dive into Pokémon Shield. At the time I'm making this video, I've only gotten the first 4 badges. And that was mostly because my brother was hogging the one Switch we have in the house to play Pokémon Sword. Whoops. But yeah, despite this being a super divisive game in the series for a few reasons, I really enjoy what I've played so far. The biggest and most addictive part I found was the new Wild area. Would I have liked a whole Pokemon game structured like an open world game, and with the Pokemon that got omitted from the final release? Sure, but what we have here, I still had fun with. Battling the raid Pokemon was super addictive because they give you great rewards for doing so it became an addiction for me to get as many of those rewards as I could. I would spend 2 hours just in the Wild area, not even touching the main story. As I was writing the script for this video, Nintendo announced an expansion pass with 2 big new areas and lots of the omitted Pokemon returning. And considering how much of a slave I am to this series, I'll definitely be dropping the $30 on it when it launches. I'm actually kind of glad they're just doing a season pass for the existing games instead of coming out with a Pokemon Ultra Sword and Ultra Shield a year later at full price, which you know they totally would have done. Also, Melanie is best girl. And Nessa. And Oleana. And Sonia. Now here's a game I didn't think we'd ever see. Developed by Team Ninja of Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive fame, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is a team-based action RPG starring a huge host of Marvel heroes. This one is very loosely based off of the Infinity War story, which the MCU recently adapted into extremely popular films. I didn't get a whole lot of time with this game either, but what I did play, this is definitely one of the more polished games in the Ultimate Alliance / X-Men Legends series. Though I do feel like the visual presentation is held back slightly by the Switch's hardware, it's still a pretty good looking game with excellent character models. It's just that if there's a game in bad need of anti-aliasing, it's this game. One thing I definitely wasn't expecting with this game is how surprisingly hard it can get. Benched characters don't level up alongside your active characters, so the only real feasible way to level them up is to go back to previously cleared areas and level grind enemies, which I guess is the norm for RPGs. Hopefully in 2020 I'll get more time to dedicate to this game, and I would like to check out those DLC episodes too. Also, Scarlet Witch is the best character. Again, didn't get a whole lot of time to dedicate to this one either, so I'm still super early in the game. But what I have played was a lot of fun. Since we're never going to get another Fallout game developed by Obsidian, we got the next best thing and got a whole new IP, and I'm enjoying my time with it. I love the aesthetic, the moral choices, the ally-related side quests, hell, even the shooting is satisfying. I've only scratched the surface of what this game offers, but this is an honorable mention because I'm definitely having a good time with it so far. Here's hoping I get some more time to dedicate to it in the future. And finally, my game of the year of 2019 is...
What? No.
I know, I'm surprised this game exists too. After years of Square Enix teasing us, they finally let us climax in January with the long-awaited release of Kingdom Hearts 3. And was the wait worth it? Well, apparently this game is really divisive amongst the fanbase, but if you ask me, definitely. The combat is as fast, fun, and addictive as it's ever been. I would be compelled to go back to Worlds after clearing them just because I have so much of a good time refighting regular enemies. And it helps that the Worlds feel so much more alive now. Freaking NPCs, what is this? One of the biggest improvements this game made was the better implementation of the overarching plot into the Disney worlds. It feels like Xehanort and the organization actually have a reason for being in the Disney world other than to just taunt Sora or whatever. In addition to all the returning RPG elements that have been sadly missing from the last few games, we also got some new ones like Keyblade strengthening, wall running that makes you feel like Batman, a freaking cooking minigame with the rat from that one movie I never saw, and an actually good gummy ship section. Well, actually, I never minded the gummy ship sections in any of the main games. And this all has nothing to do with how freaking good this game looks. I don't even care that the game got delayed an extra year if it ended up looking this freaking good. Like, seriously, some of these cutscenes look like I'm watching the damn movies with how good they look. And I didn't even notice any stuttering or distracting screen tear or anything like that. I'm glad Square Enix decided they wanted to start making good-looking games again. Final Fantasy XV started life as a PS3 game, and boy howdy does that game look like a PS3 game. I know Unreal Engine 4 is like the Town Bicycle, but it's the Town Bicycle for a reason. It can make a stunning-looking game that performs well if the developers try hard enough with it. Now, even with all the glowing praise I'm ejaculating onto it, I do have a few very small nitpicks with it. Do I wish the game were a little bit longer? Yeah. Do I wish the story would have handled some of its story elements a little differently? Sure. Do I wish the game would have actually had Final Fantasy characters in its Final Fantasy Disney crossover series? Well, at least we're getting them. A year later. In a $30 DLC pack. But this didn't stop me from having an absolute blast with this game. This was the game this year where I would get excited to come home from work to play. I also appreciated all the other small quality of life changes, like being able to keep moving while casting healing spells, having all accessible party members available to you at all times without the need to switch them out, having the synthesis shop available to you at all save points instead of just in one world in the whole game. Lord knows I dumped a whole lot of time into the synthesis shop this time around. Probably more than any other game before it. This is the most excited I've been for the future of the series since finishing Kingdom Hearts 2 all the way back in 2006, and I cannot wait to see what they come up with next. Hopefully no more scattered release shenanigans that plagued us post Kingdom Hearts 2, hopefully, if we're lucky. Oh god damn it. Oh, and Toy Box is the best world. Fight me. So those were the games I enjoyed in 2019. Overall, it was a pretty good year for games in my opinion. I mean, hey, we finally got Kingdom Hearts 3 and that long-teased Resident Evil 2 remake. And here's hoping 2020 is even better. There's definitely games coming out this year that I'm looking forward to. We finally get a new Animal Crossing this year, can't wait to play that. The first episode of the Final Fantasy VII remake looks interesting, I'll totally check that out. And Lord knows I'm on pins and needles waiting for The Last of Us Part 2. Definitely expect me to vanish without a trace when that freaking game drops. So what were your favorite games from last year? And which ones are you looking forward to this year? Drop on into the comments section and let me know. And, as always, thank you for watching.
Where have I been? I'm a sharpshooter at Post Masquerade, hiding both face and mind, all free for you to draw.